Democratic Congressman Pramila Jayapal joins me now. We know each other well, and I'm sorry for having to play that because I can't imagine. It's got to be some PTSD for you. You know it's there. You released it. But it's horrible to hear threats against you and your family. And you and I talked after January 6th, where there's video of you and how threatened you were and how close you and your colleagues came to violence and getting hurt. How are you about this?
Well, as I said to somebody else, I'm okay and I'm not okay. I mean, it's what you said, that this is not normal. We should not accept it as normal. Where the hell are we as a country when this is becoming normalized? And so that's part of the reason I did the story and that I released some of the voicemails. Those are just a fraction of what we've received, along with death threats and many other things. Ali, I think it's important that people understand the connections between the big lie, January 6th, and what happened at my house, and see how these things are affecting each of us individually and then all of us as a society. And that's really that I wanted people to be aware of what we're dealing with so that we can reject it and say we got to put whatever has been unleashed back away and not allow this to be normal.
Congresswoman, let me ask you just to hang on a second. We just are going to take a picture of what we're seeing at Balmoral in Scotland, where the Queen's children do appear to be there now. Let's if we can take a quick look at this on air. This is Balmoral Castle in Scotland. This is where the Queen passed. And we are now seeing the approach of members of the royal family paying their respects and joining in, looking at where people have left flowers and things like that. We're going to put that into the corner of our screen and watch that as we continue our conversation. Congresswoman, I want to ask you about the attacks that you had faced before. You are a woman of color in politics. And a leader in certain parts of the Democratic Party. What changed? What's changed in the last 4 or 5 years, or in the last year alone for you, in terms of the tenor and flavor of the threats and the talk, particularly about violence?
Ali, it's completely different over the last, I would say, 4 to 5 years, really since Donald Trump was in the White House and actually allowing and promoting this kind of violence and political rhetoric, racism and sexism. I've had lots of protests before. I've been part of lots of protests. There is a big difference between protesting peacefully, free speech peacefully, and showing up for harassment with a gun at somebody's house in the middle of the night, constantly coming by and yelling racist, sexist, xenophobic things. It said India, it was captured on the security camera. They said, go back to India. And I think that what has changed is there's a sense that everything is so unfair, and it's been propelled by Donald Trump. The institutions are unfair, that the only recourse is to violence. And that is an extremely dangerous thing, and we saw it come to fruition on January 6th, and now in ways that I've seen outside my door. It is particularly bad if you're a woman of color, and there are many of us that are prominent women of color. We are on TV quite a bit. We're talking about policy quite a bit. You can disagree about policy, but to actually take this to violence and to threaten people, I think is something that's really only been promoted and allowed in the last couple of years. So
you are used to this. You are a woman in a society that we are increasingly learning disrespects women greatly. You're a woman of color. But you saw what Lindsey Graham said, just investigating the Mar-a-Lago stuff. There'll be riots in the street. That Eric Greitens ad is fascinating. He's actually targeting Republicans with guns and with talk of busting into someone's house and hunting season and no tag limits. Tag limits are how many buck you can kill. I mean, this has escalated to a point where it's not for the critical viewer. It's for somebody who sees this, who might not completely be in the right frame of mind, who can carry out these things. We'll say that they were crazy. We'll say that they were unhinged and imbalanced. But the fact is, this is stoking the fears of political violence in this country across the board.
That's right. And it is, for anybody, including the Adam Kinzingers, Liz Cheney's, others who are opposing Donald Trump and the MAGA Republican Party, that it's become. And I think that, the fact that we also have all these guns out there, that there's an ease of obtaining these things and using them is another problem. That ad I find it absolutely terrifying. I find Senator Graham's comments stunning. A sitting U.S. senator essentially calling for riots in the street. I mean, this is a very Trumpian MAGA tactic. When you are being threatened with justice, that you call for riots or violence. That is what led to January 6th. And so I think we're in a very dangerous place, as you said, Ali, and I think it is important that we understand what's at stake. It's important that we vote for people who do not subscribe to the big lie, whether Republican or Democrat, that we vote for people who are going to protect our institutions of democracy, and that we really do everything we can to push back on this and not allow it to be normalized.
Let me ask you this, though. Here's the problem. Nobody watching you and me having this conversation this morning is going to be a problem to you. How do we actually change this? This is remarkable because the people putting these ads out, the people saying these things on TV, and the people threatening you are not listening to us this morning.
Well, I think that's true, but I also think we are seeing a rejection of the extreme MAGA positions across the country, whether it's, around the Dobbs decision. And I said, Ali, when the Dobbs decision came down, I said, people do not understand the fury and the wrath that has been released by, for women across this country in taking away these constitutional freedoms. And I think you saw it with the Kansas abortion vote, initiative vote. I think you're seeing it in special elections where we have extreme right-wing candidates running, and they are they are not winning. I think Americans will reject this. We have to make it clear what the stakes are, and we have to talk about what Democrats have done, the remarkable things that we have been able to accomplish with very small majorities. All of that is important, but we do need to lay out what is at stake for our democracy. And I think the January 6th committee is also doing that. And the Justice Department, with the raid at Mar-a-Lago and all of the things that we are finding out about nuclear secrets, other things that would have been unimaginable even 5 years ago, that would be happening in the United States. We are at a precipice, and we're counting on the American people to come through. And I have hope that people will realize that we have to turn this clock back, Ali. We've got to get people in government who actually believe in government and who believe in democracy, believe in voting, believe in our Constitution.
Regardless of where they stand on the political spectrum, I don't really care what people's views are, but let's understand the rules by which we play. Congresswoman, I am sorry for what you've gone through, and I'm sorry to have to rehash it with you this morning, but unfortunately, it's a remarkably important discussion. Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal of Washington.